Okay. A moment.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Tebere. I am Director for Government and Partner Relations in Kijani Forestry Limited. Our presentation is titled The Horns of a Dilemma. We are rethinking modern charcoal supply chains, markets, and livelihoods in northern Uganda. We are context specific here. Next slide, please. We have identified 7 horns of this dilemma. The first, of course, is the large number, the huge percentage of Ugandans who use firewood and charcoal, sourced specifically from natural forests and woodlands for both cooking and industry. That's the first dilemma. Second, the need for wood fuel, besides expansion of farmland and sourcing of timber, leads to disastrous loss of tree cover. And the statistics on this are staggering. Global Forest Watch says Uganda is the third at the fastest levels of tree cover loss globally. Okay, 72,000 hectares are lost per year. Between 2000 and 2020, that is the percentage we have lost, from 24% to 8%. The third dilemma is that reforestation and afforestation efforts require restoration of conservation forests and woodlands in each of our agroecological zones in order to ensure a sustainable supply of resilient tree seed. When you want to grow trees, it starts with seeds. Okay? When you don't have any more forests left, you don't have seed source. When you don't have seed source, it costs you. The supply, a sustainable supply of resilient tree seed, requires establishment of well-managed, decentralized tree seed collection and banking system based on these agroecological zones in order to supply tree nurseries. We need this tree supply system to be resilient, meaning seed has to be collected from a wide genetic pool. As it is now, when you count seed sources, there are so few. We are actually shrinking the genetic pool from which our trees are growing now. The fifth dilemma, ensuring adequate supply of charcoal and firewood, requires take-up of a new enterprise, sustainably farming wood fuel. Okay? We need this enterprise to be picked up by both smallholder and large-scale farmers. We'll show how Kijani has been able to do this. The sixth dilemma is efficient conversion of wood fuel into charcoal. It requires retooling. We need to retrain, retool charcoal burners to adopt and use efficient kilns and retorts, to move away from traditional earth-mount kilns. We are turning poachers into gamekeepers here. Okay? The seventh and final dilemma, C, is efficient utilization of charcoal requires efficient distribution, adoption, and use of improved energy-saving stoves. The earlier presenter showed you where the profit margin lies in the value chain, the transportation. So the efficiency in distribution here becomes very important. Next slide. This is what the traditional charcoal value chain looks like in very simplified terms, that landowners sell off tree cover on their land. Some do it to clear land for farming, others do it just to get the cash from the trees. The charcoal burners move in. Charcoal burners are not necessarily self-employed. They are employees of someone, okay? As an employee, this person is paid very low wages. What we noticed in northern Uganda is many professional charcoal burners from outside the region come in because they have an opportunity to do something else, and that is plant marijuana while out there burning charcoal, you see? So the charcoal burner comes in with a dual purpose. The transporter moves in to move the product, okay? The wholesaler sells it on to the distributors, the retailer, eventually the consumer. And the consumers are local and international, as we saw earlier. Next slide. The system we are proposing from our observations on the ground changes this value chain. It extends it further back and moves it further forward as well. Further back, we want to start the process in the context-specific situation we face, looking back at the dilemmas we face, to reach further back and start with forest restoration. Why? We want to restore conservation forests in strategic locations across the country to ensure a regular supply of our indigenous trees. So that starts and then establishes the natural seed orchards that allow us to establish a decentralized, resilient tree seed collection and banking system, okay? Then, from these seed banks, we are able to supply various nursery operations, tree nursery operations across the country to be able to raise seedlings and start cultivating, okay? And then it goes to the tree growing, where we now have woodlots and plantations, through to the charcoal production, warehouse operations, distribution, retailing, to consumption, the market. Next. But let's differentiate between traditional charcoal and modern charcoal, because in this differentiation is where we understand why we have to transition from the old to the new. In the traditional charcoal systems, we are harvesting naturally regenerating trees from forests and woodlands, but the rate at which we are taking out is faster than the rate nature brings back, okay? So what are we doing for the modern system? We start by domesticating or adapting indigenous tree species that are sustainably farmed in woodlots and plantations, okay? In the traditional system, we clear cut. We take mixed species, because when you buy trees in an area, to maximize your profit, you take out everything, including the roots, by the way. And the leaves and twigs residue is wasted. But in the modern system we are proposing, we are doing selective harvesting, single species, leaf and twig residue is recycled into biochar, okay? The production methods are low. On the one hand, traditional is low efficiency, high emission earth mount kilns, with significant air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. But in the modern system, we're introducing higher efficiency, low emission kilns and retorts that condense smoke into wood vinegar. This wood vinegar has got very many uses as well, okay, that the farmer benefits from. The governance methods. In the traditional system, we have individual licensing systems inadequately policed by local government forest officers and rangers. And when you imagine that a local government has one forest officer and two forest rangers, then you can imagine how it is policed, okay? But in the modern governance, we intend to create associations of sustainable wood farmers in a sub-county, for instance, with farm-to-market chain of custody, traceability, transparency, and accountability systems. Kijani has a very advanced one that can suitably trace a tree from farm to market. Next slide. The yields differ 10 to 20% for the earth mount kiln, all the way to 30 to 40% for the improved Casamance kiln. Retorts can go up to 80 and 90%. Okay? Then in the product quality, sizes vary, quality, etc. But the marketing system is also where we bring in lots of modernity. We are saying, in the traditional system, our charcoal is poorly packaged and traceable and branded, sold by bulk, okay? A cavera full, a katasa full, a basin full, a sack full. We are saying, let's now change to evenly sized, packaging it appropriately, branding it, okay? And you can read from the brand what's in the package and understand what species of charcoal it comes from, and then it's sold by weight. Because we are able to sell by weight and it's properly and cleanly branded, the retail outlets multiply. As it is now, you go and buy charcoal from the dirtiest part of a market. Okay? The environmental impact is clear. Degradation and deforestation of natural forests and woodlands, loss of biodiversity, etc. We reverse that in the modern charcoal value chain. Next. Very important, criteria for selection of wood fuel species for modern charcoal. When we as Kijani set about doing this as a business, we said, what kind of tree species should be used for charcoal? Most important, let it first be an indigenous, non-endangered tree species that is non-vulnerable, non-threatened, okay? Because then we are conserving nature, all right? It should be fast growing for a short rotation, okay? Because a farmer needs to have their return on investment. It should be able to copies so that you plant it once, it grows back again, you harvest it again and again in rotation. It should yield a relatively high calorific value as charcoal. It should be at least a dense form of wood that generates the required heat. When it burns, the smoke shouldn't be too toxic. Some pieces of wood actually burn and you sneeze so badly, you don't want to put it in your fireplace, okay? So from these criteria, we identified in the Acholi or Middle North Agroecological Zone, Acholi, Lango, parts of Bunyoro, we identified these 6 species: Acacia polycantha, known as white thorn in English, locally known as Okorongono in Acholi; Albizia lebec, East Indian walnut; Melina arborea, known as white teak; Macamia lutea, the Nile tulip tree; Sennacia mare, or the castor tree; then Terminalia glaucensens, the velvet leaf tree. These are very good, they copies well, and within 3 to 4 years, by the beginning of year 5 at the latest, you're harvesting, okay? Next slide. So, what are the stages of this modern charcoal supply chain that we found to be very useful in the context of northern Uganda? We are saying selected conservation forests can be leased to sub-regional national universities. We as Kijani can work with these universities to restore these conservation forests into natural seed orchards, generating carbon credits for these subnational universities, okay? But most importantly, we now have the tree seed, okay? The sub-regional national universities can then establish the decentralized, resilient tree seed collection and banking systems. So the university now has an additional task, seed banking. You'll see the importance soon. Tree seed from these seed banks now ensures sustainable wood fuel production through the smallholder farmer woodlots and large-scale farmer plantations. When you have a steady seed source, now you own the production, you own the process. Warehouses for bulking, packaging. All right, traditional charcoal burners are retooled in efficient charcoal production skills and equipment, etc. Then the warehousing, where bulking, packaging, branding of modern charcoal for distribution takes place. And of course, where local governments can now administer the system efficiently from. By having such a warehouse in public-private partnership, through a public-private partnership with a sub-county, for instance, we are bringing the revenue to the sub-county, reducing the costs of a local government officer running around to 150 farms to collect revenue. All of it is governed digitally with a farm-to-market chain of custody, traceability, transparency, and accountability system. Okay, next. The markets. We have these 5 different marketplaces, so to speak. The first, the Sustainable Wood Fuel Farmers Associations can be put together at sub-county level. Then the modern charcoal producers and carbonizers, okay, who move from farm to farm. Then the public-private partnerships with the sub-counties for these warehouses where the bulking, packaging, and distribution takes place for markets, and then the distribution itself out there through various retail outlets. These are the new markets that we envisage this modern charcoal industry creating. Next. Income streams. Very, very important in all of this. Who gets what, where, when, how. The restoration, carbon credits, okay? We identify the appropriate conservation forests. We are going to earn as a country carbon credits from these. Income from community and forest-based seed collection, okay, and banking. In West Nile, when we were driving around the terrain, you would observe a very old tree that has survived the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry changed the treescape in West Nile, bringing in lots of plantations of eucalyptus, okay? But you would find an occasional indigenous tree that has survived in somebody's garden or compound. A network of those form community-based tree seed collectors, and we are able to start the restoration in that manner. So together with those in the conservation forest reserves, we therefore have community-based and forest-based tree seed collection systems. Farmer earnings from tree seedling sales from nursery hubs, okay? Kijani does decentralized tree nursery hubs. We take the tree nursery to the farmer. Instead of the farmer having to go to a commercial nursery, we co-create tree seed nurseries with farmer groups. We have over 3,500 of them now in 31 districts, okay? Then from the wood fuel, or the woodlots and plantations, farmers earn from charcoal offtake. Once we have harvested, properly processed and converted into charcoal, we guarantee the market to the farmer by off-taking at farm gate price at the time of harvest the charcoal, okay? We found, when we did our calculations, that large-scale charcoal farms can actually propel the investors into the second or even third tier of income tax payments to Uganda Revenue Authority. I was personally stunned when I read figures from